Welcome to Dr. Krystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. I am your host, Dr. Krystal, a doctor of East Asian medicine and a holistic transformational coach. Here we will shine light on wisdom keepers, paradigm shifters who inspire us to live thriving, joyful lives. Let's be inspired. Although I am a doctor of East Asian medicine, this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It does not replace professional medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for guidance on your personal health needs. Welcome to the Dr. Krystal podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. We are all family here and all are welcome. I hold space for people walking through the fire, whether it is burnout, big life transition, fertility, hormonal health challenges, or simply just wanting to stay grounded in our modern day world. Here we share stories of truth, real stories to remind you you are not alone, your healing is holy, and there is light and hope on the other side. I offer one-on-one sacred reset sessions, a guided, safe space to slow down, speak your truth, and we co-create spiritual rhythms and daily routines to bring you back to calm, center, and sovereign. Link is in the show notes if you are interested. And today I'm so excited to introduce to you Liliana Brown, founder of Resilient Now podcast. She inspired me, showed me the way. She was the way shower of podcasting. So Liliana, I would love to hear, what does sacred mean to you?
Sacred means something that's very special and valuable, and you kind of want to take care of it. You kind of hold it in very high regard.
I love asking people. Everyone has a different interpretation of that word. So, as you know, this is about our sacred stories, and you have so many. And the one that really touched my heart when you shared it with me was your experience of foster care. So, would you like to share about that, your experience and what that was like for you? Because you're such an inspiration knowing that you went through that and now you have a thriving, successful, beautiful life.
Thank you. Thank you. I was about 12. I had a brother that lived with me. He was 6 years younger than me, and I took care of him. And my mother would leave us alone for years and years, and she didn't live with us. And she'd come maybe once a month or something and bring us food and that kind of thing. And that's illegal, just so you know. That happened in Miami. And after several years, she got reported, and my brother and I were taken to a shelter home, which is not a foster home, but it's kind of a temporary place where they take kids. Then we went to court pretty quickly, and I went to live with a family member. My brother went to live with a family member, an extended family member, and it worked out for him. He was able to get adopted there and everything. And I never wanted to be adopted, but it didn't work out with my family. And then I wound up going to a foster home. It was it was a little traumatizing for me because I was about 15 years old, and there was a family, and they had two daughters, and it was not in a great area in Miami. And there was a lot of, I guess there was a lot of different kind of girls there, and they were, nice girls there for different reasons why they weren't, I know there was a couple that were abused by their fathers. There's one that, I remember her, she was such a sweet girl, but she had this thing, and, she would just like go out with a lot of men and things like that. She'd escape at night and things like that. So I was never around anything like that. There was other girls who, I don't know, there was all sorts of girls, and I was really confused because I was, I was only 15 years old. I'd always lived by myself with my brother, and it was kind of a rude awakening to the world. And the foster parents really, they weren't really there for us emotionally or anything like that. It was more like a paycheck for them to support their families. Didn't have a lot of food. I remember we used to eat a lot of that butter bread, or the cheaper bread they have at the grocery store. We toast it and we put butter and we put sugar on it. So we ate a lot of that. Yeah, it was weird. And, so that happened for a while. I had a social worker, and she would come and get me and take me to doctor's appointments. I saw some therapists, but I was always a little bit of a manipulator, so I would wind up getting the therapist to talk about them and their families. It was really funny. I know how to do that with people, and yeah, it was not. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know what to do. It was confusing. It was like being in a movie, but it was real. So.
Can we back up for a second? Because I want to understand the situation, your mom, you were living somewhere by yourself with your brother,
Yeah, for many years. I think we had like two or three apartments she moved us from. So,
but she was never there.
no, she lived with a man. She was in love with somebody and she just was kind of obsessed with him. So, she
Okay.
she didn't want us living with him and her. So, she had a separate apartment for us.
Okay. Wow. And you were young and you had to take care of your brother. Were you responsible for making sure he was up and dressed and out to school and fed and all of those things like at a young age?
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't have a housekeeper. We didn't have a nanny. We didn't have anything. It was just me. And I would like get up in the morning very, very early. I don't remember having an alarm clock and just getting him ready. And, we didn't really comb our hair. I don't remember if we really took showers, to be honest, that much.
Right.
And we would just, get picked up by a bus driver. She'd take us to school. My brother was in nursery school, when all that started. And then he eventually he went to elementary school with me. But we had a really good bus driver, and she later became a foster mother too. I didn't stay with her very long, but she had her sister become a foster mother because she saw the home I was living in,
Yeah.
one of the first one, and she wasn't really happy with that. She visited me with her daughter. So
Okay. And so then when you were 15 and you were eating the sugar butter bread and
yeah, it was
what
good.
yeah, so tell us, share how did you get out of that and find your way and like because a lot of people who grow up in foster care that they never overcome the trauma. Oftentimes they might I don't know. I could make up lots of stories, but I just when I look at you've overcome a lot. You have a good job, you have a nice apart, you know what I mean? Like you're living a full life. So I'm like when you were 15 and then what was high school like for you?
High school is hard because again, I didn't know what to do. The last kind of the foster home before the last one I was in, I had a lot of freedom. I was allowed to be a candy striper. I pretty much
Oh,
could come
yeah.
and go. I had a foster sister who was a couple years older than me, and she had a boyfriend. But we'd say we were sisters. She was a couple years older, so she cut her hair like she cut my hair like her hair, and we were up and down together all the time. And she had a couple brothers, but the brothers really didn't really like. They had their own. They were older, so they didn't really deal with me. And the mom was wonderful. She was my bus driver, but she went through a divorce during that time, and she wasn't mentally there. She wasn't able to be there for me.
Mm.
Um, it's interesting because she later died when I was in my 20s. She died by a drunk driver in Miami Beach. And her granddaughter was with her in the car, and her granddaughter lived. And I joined a 12-step program for friends and families of alcoholics, not AA. I won't say the name of the program because we don't do that, but I got mentors there, and that's really where my
What
life.
age was that?
Oh, it was I'm in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was much later, but high school, I decided to just like learn as much as I could. I took typing. One of my foster parents, the last foster home I was in, took only babies and small kids, but they made an exception for me. And I hurry up and finish high school. And I remember I had like a foster dad, and he was like, I call him Pops, and he said to me, "You have to take typing." And I'm so glad I listened to him because it helped me with the
Right.
computer. And I don't know, I just kind of decided that I just needed to do what I needed to do to get my high school diploma, and I did. And then I was obsessed with this aunt of mine that was to turn out to be an alcoholic later. And I moved to California from Miami, lived with her for 6 months, and that was not a good situation. But I just learned, and being in LA, that's where I found 12 step and I found mentors. So I was one of those lucky people. So
Right. What was the hardest thing about foster care for you as a child?
it's just not knowing how to act and not understanding, the kids that were there in the foster care, except for the little ones, because they don't know better, but the girls, like for that first foster home I was in, nobody knew how to be, and that's the age when you start liking boys and, and, girls are getting their periods and, things like that. And I had that aunt that I was obsessed with, she actually came and brought me everything when I was younger, because the foster mom was never going to do it. So
Mm.
yeah, it was very confusing. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be for a very long time. I was very confused about life for a very long time, for many years. I was very lucky that later in my life, I think it's God sent me mentors and, times we call them sponsors, and nobody wanted anything from me and money or anything like that. And they helped me. They helped me become, the person that I am today. And I'm constantly trying to be better. But yeah, I was very lucky. I was very lucky. And that's why I'm a very big believer. That's why I have the podcast, Resilient Out podcast, because there's a lot of people out there that just don't know what to do with,
Right.
sadness and depression. And so I try to bring people to them that hopefully they get inspired because they've gone through what they've gone through. So I started a podcast recently and it launched in May, and that's the one you were talking about. And it's got a website. It's called Resilient Now Podcast. It also directs you, if you want, to different 12-step programs where that most of them are free and there's solutions there for people. And it just has different speakers who have gone through so many things. And hopefully the people who tune in will find their speaker and they can get inspired. So it's all
Right.
about connecting with the right people.
Right. So what do you think set you apart from other people when that what gave you the grit and the inspiration to get through foster care and to find your way on the other side? What do you think was that spark inside of you? Like I know at 13, I ran away from home and was put in the Ronald McDonald House and almost AWOL'd and was on the street with girls. But somehow I got spared and I didn't end up on the street. And then at 14, I had this wake up call that, like, if I don't do something different, I'm going to go down a path I'm not going to come recover from, you know? And it was just, I just made, so I'm just curious, what was that grit inside of you, do you think that kept you? Was it a person? Was it?
I think it was God, to be honest. When I lived alone with my brother, so I was introduced to God by my grandmother, my father's mother, when I was younger. She was Pentecost. And I remember being younger and going to church with her. I was petrified. These people spoke in tongues and stuff, but she would talk a lot about God. And she, I think, put him in my heart and in my head. And as I got older, even when I lived in one of the foster homes, I used to read the Bible, which was funny to me because, I only liked the Jesus parts, the
No,
parable.
the red, they were like in
I
red.
read, that was it.
That's
So
like those were good
yeah,
nuggets.
yeah, those were good nuggets. And I used to read that. And I was always the girl who was like, I didn't start dating into my like later 20s, and I was always not scared of things, but I was very shy. I'm very much an introvert, and because I didn't know how to be. Like I could hold it together where people thought I could, I was kind of quiet because I was always thinking, that
Hmm.
but no, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't. And I was always scared and I never wanted to do like I remember being younger in foster homes and like they put on like a sexual movie with like a sex scene or something like that, and I got like gave me the creeps. And I don't know where all that came from. I mean, I know when I was younger I was molested by a family member, which I won't talk about, but I don't know. For me, I just think God helped me. He threw me a line. He threw me a lot of lines. And I don't know. I don't know. It has to be God because this is going to tell you when I was little and I lived with my brother. I used to have this game with God. I'm like, I'm the only person on the planet. That was my game with God. And you don't love Jesus. You love me. I'm your favorite. And it's, I'll put up with Jesus because the world needs him. I know I'm the chosen one. I'm the one you love the most. And literally, that got me through so much.
Oh,
God works in mysterious ways because if I didn't have that, I don't know what would have happened.
oh, I love that.
Yeah, I've always had God with me. And again, I guess I have to give that to my grandmother because she's the one who gave me God. So,
Same with me. My grandmother too. My grandmother raised me and my takeaway was that devotion to prayer and believing in something greater. So I don't know why this question came through. I think because now I'm working with children. What is it you think us adults can do for those children that we know maybe are in foster care?
I think just spending time with them and having, I know for me, my podcast secretly, what my goal in my podcast is that it becomes so cool that people, because you can't do a podcast and make it about foster kids. You know why? Because I tried. And not a podcast, I try to have a Zoom meeting. They don't come because then once they leave the system, they don't want to look back. But
Right.
but my dream secretly, won't tell anybody.
That's right. Like,
Yeah, right. Is that my podcast becomes so cool and mainstream that they listen to it when they leave and they find their people, that is my goal. And I don't put it out that like that because then it becomes a podcast about foster kids and nobody's going to come. So, but I would love that. I really think people help people and the right people. So, yeah.
you just gave me chills. I mean, like, I'll never forget my third grade teacher, like she pulled me to the side because my grandparents were raising me. They were older, right? And I don't know, I was like feral. I wouldn't let them brush my hair. I would pretend to take a bath, and they were too old to make sure I was clean. So my third grade teacher pulls me to the side and so lovingly held my hands and then taught me how to take care of my nails
Hmm.
and how to clean them. And it was like to have this female adult show me love and care and how to take care of myself, like has stayed with me my whole life. So I think it's just those little small things we can do for children, like just being present, showing that you care, showing love. So, anyways, thank you for sharing that part of your story. Before we go, is there a sacred practice or ritual that you would like to share with others that helps you?
Yes, gratitude. It's all about gratitude. So it's really hard to be mad or resentful or poor me syndrome, which is so easy to get to, or just complaining and moaning or bitching or whatever, if you're in gratitude. So I try to, when I get up in the morning, I talk to God. I always talk to God and I say, usually it's the same five things, which is, I'm grateful for God, my son, that I have health, my job, my friends. But it's really important to get up instead of grabbing my phone like I want to. I do my gratitude list and I try to live in gratitude for the most part. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because I can just see God up there getting all these prayers of thanks and I think everybody's in gratitude, which is beautiful. So I really think gratitude can save you. I really do. So
I do too. There was even a study with Vietnam vets, the ones who had a gratitude practice healed,
mhm.
overcame their traumas, or had higher success rates. So, yes. So, how can people find your podcast and find you?
Well, you can, I'm on most platforms, Resilient Now podcasts. So I have a website, and like I said, I'm on Apple, I'm in Spotify, I'm on YouTube. You can see the videos. Not the best quality because I'm a newbie at this. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it to help people. But the everything's on Apple too, and you can go to the website and you can email me at resilientnowpodcast@gmail.com if you want more information. And that's it. That's how they can contact me and listen to the speakers because they're there for just for you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being here. In between now and the next time, please find your inspiration, stay inspired, find the sacred in everyday life.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me on Dr. Krystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. If today's episode lifted you up, I'd love if you shared it with a friend, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps more people discover these stories of light and transformation. And if you'd like to work with me more closely, head over to www.drkrystalkinnanen.com. And as a thank you for listening to the show, you'll receive $20 off your first session. Details are also in the show notes. Remember, in this time of rapid change and transformation, you are not alone. You are part of a greater shift, and your inspired life matters. Until next time, let's be inspired.